Hi guys, thanks for checking back in on the channel. I was actually sitting here having a little beer and scrapping some PCB boards just to take the components off, and realised actually it might be a good idea just to give you a little bit of insight into all this stuffs I keep and store, and how I kind of sort all my items that I take off PCB boards, and give you just a little bit of insight into maybe the best ways to store them. So yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into that and show you kind of what I do. So as you can see, some of the boards that I'm actually going through here are actually telecom boards. They're from old office phones, smaller ones from one particular phone, and the larger ones at the back from another type of phone. And as you can see, just the little components that have been taken off them. So not a lot there. It is very time consuming, but you know, once I've obviously taken it all off, how do I store these? Where do I put them? Ready for either selling them on or try to recover the precious metals. So I'll take you through each of the components that I store, keep, and then either try and sell on or do the recovery with. So this is kind of how I store each of the components. And most of this is through either electrical item recovery or recovery direct from PCB boards. So I'll take you through each of these little boxes. Maybe familiar, obviously little kind of Chinese takeaway boxes that I use. Nice and easy, all come with lids, and obviously reusing that plastic, which is always good. So I'll take you through the first one. So the first one here is just RAM taken off of computers. So standard little RAM. That one's obviously came out of a laptop, and then we get some bigger items, bigger ones that have came off bigger PC kits. Now in terms of recovery from these, obviously gold from the IC chips, but yeah, you can sell these gold fingers online as well. So I keep them all together. Tend to get more for them if you actually sell them as completed RAM. Second box is little plugs. So you get these on the end of electrical cables, commonly within electrical items, within PCs, sometimes on the end of transformers, that kind of thing. And these are actually either brass or copper. So obviously, you get enough of these, you keep them all together, then you can have a bit of copper weight there. So worth keeping, worth storing, and adding to your metal recovery. The next one is brass, and as you can see, the brass items, most of them come from plugs. So your standard plug prongs there. Some of these, obviously, the little screws on the end of them, some of them are brass as well, some of them aren't, so it's worth checking. As you can see, we've got one sitting on the end there. Obviously a brass one, not magnetic, so it is brass. And sometimes I recover the brass inserts from plug extensions. And normally if you get an extension that's got 4 or 5 plugs on it, there's a lot of brass inside that as well, so worth taking them apart if they're no longer used. Next box is crystal oscillators. I mentioned these in a previous video. Crystal oscillators actually contain silver inside of them, but it is quite a hefty job trying to get the silver out of them. You need to break them open and remove the silver inside. Some of these, which you can see from this one here, are gold plated on the bottom. Again, so they're nice to recover and recover the gold from them separately. Next box is transistors, the basic building block of modern electronics. I don't pretend to be an electronics expert, so if anyone has information that I may say something a little bit inaccurate, if you have other information, always willing to be educated, so do leave comments if there's anything that I'm not quite saying right. On the back of these there's usually copper, but there is silver plate as well, and actually there's some gold contained in these sometimes as well. I have seen some videos online of gold recovery, silver and copper. Our next box here, I'm actually not 100% sure on these things now. What I've saved these off of is because I've seen them being noted as tantalum within these little ones. Some come black, some are in this kind of yellow colour as well. Now I'm not 100% which ones do contain tantalum and which ones aren't, so I've put them all in one box. I will separate the yellow ones out. I think they are the most likely ones to be tantalum, but there are other ones in there that I'm not really sure that came off power boards, so they look quite similar. Again, if anyone is able to give me some advice and education on that, I would more than welcome it. The box in the middle here, sometimes actually greatly overlooked, are fuses, electrical fuses. All electrical fuses are silver plated on the end, so there is silver recovery to be had there. Some higher grade ones as well are actually gold, and it's gold layered upon silver plate, so you know, both silver and gold recovery from your fuses. I've only got a few obviously in this box, but I do have storage where I've got a lot more, so again they are really worth keeping. You then get to the more kind of high value items that we've got here. So this is some of the gold plated recovery. A lot of this can be from audio equipment, as you can see on this one. It's like part of the end of a SCART lead, and that's gold plated. It's not really thick gold plating on it, but again worth recovering. And most of the stuff in here really is gold pins and the like. As you can see, quite a variety of different items in there. But anything that's gold plated and it's recovered from electrical items, then I keep it and I store it in the box. I do have a couple of these boxes now as well, so you know, it starts to build up over time. The more you get, the more you have, and eventually it'll be worth then either, as I say, try to get that gold recovery or selling it online to someone that's more equipped to do that than I am myself. The next one is processors. So these processors, obviously high value, and this one's actually broken, but you can see the gold pins, and these are probably the most sought after item when you take apart computers, getting these ones that have the gold pins. You do have ones that don't have actual gold pins and it's just like flat, but all these ones that I've got in this box are actually all gold pins. So you can sell these online, you do get quite a good price for them. Obviously some are more desirable than others, but yeah, quite a variety, quite a few in the box here, so they will be worth selling online. Next we come to our IC chips. So you can see some of these have a ceramic backing, and there's a little kind of gold tab on the end of it. Now that gold tab isn't actually gold plate. I'm not quite sure why the gold tab is there, but it isn't gold plate. But they are IC chips again, so they do have gold within them, gold wiring, and very much worth recovering. I've got a kind of variety of IC chips in this box, some other kind of flat ones as well, which are quite good for recovery. I've not separated them out yet. Some people separate them out. I stick them all in one box, to be honest. If I do realise that some are more valuable than others, then I will start to separate them out. There's a few copper items here, and really just obviously it's a little bit in a box, but I just wanted to show why and where really these come from. So a lot of these you'll get out of gold wiring, so you know, this can be from components within the computers themselves. Again, there is little copper wiring within some of the components, and some of them, you know, you get bigger items as well, especially in kind of power packs and that on plugs, that you can actually find you know, much higher grade quality copper. The key thing with especially these ones ones like that, they usually get that out of things like transformers. A nice solid piece of copper there. If you do get a lot of transformers, then you can make quite a bit of copper. Things like microwave ovens, got a lot of transformers in them. Some are actually containing aluminium wire or copper coating, and others have pure copper wire, so it's a bit of a lottery in whether you get the copper ones or the aluminium ones. Some people don't take them apart at all and just sell them as motors. I actually try and take them apart and get as much copper recovery as possible. Next one is resistors. Now, resistors, you get them in all kind of colours. Some are blue, some are green, some are black. But as you can see, most of them have little numbers on them. And the reason I keep these is actually they're quite good for silver recovery, but you need an awful lot of them. So I've been saving these for quite a long time, and as you can see, there's not a lot stacking up in the box. So, you know, whether you want to do that or not, it's very time consuming. But, you know, I try and recover as much as I can off the PCBs, and that is just another component that definitely contains silver, so to me it's worthwhile taking it off the board and sticking it in the box. Be familiar with the MLCCs. Again, MLCCs come in all shapes, well, not all shapes, but all sizes and colours. Some orange, some green, some yellow, some black. The key thing with the MLCCs is that when you're taking them off the board, that the MLCCs that you want to recover should have a C in front of a number. If it's got an L, leave it. If it's got a C, recover it. And if it's got any other kind of letters, then I would just leave it on the board. Obviously, you want to maximise your silver or palladium recovery, and that's what's contained within these. So if you start, you know, taking everything off that board and putting other things in there that aren't MLCCs, as I say, they can look very similar to other items on the board. Then obviously you reduce your recovery rate. So just be aware of that. Make sure that it's got a C and a number, and you'll be on the right path. These other ones are also capacitors. And again, you know, some of these are actually capacitors, some of them are tantalum. Again, only a few in the box here, and I'm not 100% sure how you tell which ones are tantalum and which ones aren't. So again, if anyone knows how to, you know, for sure how I can tell which ones are tantalum and which ones aren't, then I would appreciate your comments and your education. I think ones like that are more likely to be tantalum. Than, say, like these ceramic capacitors. But again, I'm not 100% sure, so we'd appreciate that. Next one we've got is resistors. Now resistors, again, you can't tell by looking at them on face value if there's any precious metals contained within them. Some of them you actually have to take apart, and underneath the kind of coating you can see some gold plating. So not all of them do, a very few I think, and it's going to be a kind of a small rate, you know, percentage wise, how many in this box will actually have gold plating underneath. But again, you know, it's maybe worth having a look and seeing if you can find any with that gold plating underneath. Final box I'm going to take you through is some little buttons, and these little buttons are called tactile switches, and they can be found on most electrical items that have a little switch. The good thing about switches is most of them, electrical switches anyway, most of them contain a little bit of silver. They do come in, again, different shapes and sizes. Some are square, some are round. So, you know, to pull one out, it's a little square one. You know, very common. You get them on lots of things like printers or DVD players, or you know, anything really common that's got a little button on the front of it. So lots of them can be recovered. You can actually build these up really quickly. It's a different kind of shape, size, but essentially the same thing. It's a little kind of plastic outer case. Underneath the immediate button is a little copper plate, and underneath the copper plate is a little bit of silver. It's a little tiny nub of silver, and I'll actually show you what that looks like once you strip it down. So here's one stripped, and right in the very center you can see a little circle, and that little circle is silver. So that's why we recover them. Some are a little bit more obvious than others. So there's one a little bit better. You can see the silver button in the middle. Again, you need a lot of these. Silver isn't, that expensive. You don't get that much for silver recovery, but again, it is a precious metal, and this is a way to recover it. So I've seen different methods of trying to get the silver out of these. A lot of them involve burning off the plastic, which isn't obviously the greatest method. It's not great for the environment. So again, if there's any information out there on the kind of best ways to recover the silver from these, again, I would greatly appreciate you putting that in the comment section. And finally, just in terms of other things where you can get the silver, I have kind of touched on the switches as well. So I do have a little jar where I've got some silver nubs, and these are taken off directly off his switches. Usually the switch is attached to a little piece of brass. Obviously recover the brass, but also recover the silver. So I'll take a couple of little bits out and just show you. Put a few on the table there. Any other kind of silver plated items as well, I do take out. So it gives you an idea of the little nub of silver that you can take off switches. Yeah, sometimes quite difficult just to get the actual nub of silver out itself, so I just clip a little bit off of whatever it's attached to, and that's quite common. And then I'll try and recover that a little bit later using whatever method. Obviously it would be great if I could use nitric and just dissolve the metals and then precipitate silver, but unfortunately we can't use nitric acid in the UK unless you have a license to do so, which I don't, because I'm not a metal recovery business. I'm just a hobbyist really, recovering these items just for fun. Why do I do it for fun? Because it's a little bit like a treasure hunt really, and it's kind of great to break things open, see what's inside them, learn a little bit more about the electronics, and then as I say, this is the kind of treasure hunt, isn't it? Looking for the gold plated items. Great to have a box full of gold, even though it is just gold plate and obviously not pure gold, but it is the kind of next gold rush, I think, in terms of recovering from electronics. The amount of gold that gets recovered from electronics nowadays is significant, so if I can play a little part in that, recycle them and get something out of it, whether you use that gold for your own means in terms of creating a little bit of jewellery or selling it on for profit, then it's entirely up to you. That's it, that's my setup. As I say, put all these things in the little boxes. Each of the boxes have a little lid which you can see underneath, and I store them away till I've got enough, until it's worth actually doing something with them. So that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your time as always. If you like the video, then please hit that like button and hit subscribe, and new videos coming soon. Thanks very much. Bye.